Hey everyone, my name is Wedge, and oh yeah, Fate Reforged spoiler season has begun. Get ready for some ridiculous new cards. It's only Monday and we already have our first legendary dragon, a new kind of enchantment, and new mechanics. Let's get this going. This video is going to take a while. Fate Reforged is just so sick already. We'll start with a couple new mechanics. Our first spoiler is Honor's Reward. 2 colorless and 1 white for an instant. You gain 4 life, bolster 2. Whenever you bolster, choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control, and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. In this case, 2 counters. Obviously an Obzan card, bolster is their new mechanic in Fate Reforged. This mechanic could have some interesting interactions. Not only does it make your weakest creature more powerful, but it also can make your only creature more powerful. If you only have one thing on the board, this is a permanent instant speed +2/+2 for it, and you gain life. Bolster seems pretty sweet overall. I like the design. Another new mechanic comes to us from our next card, Soul Summons. 1 colorless and 1 white for a sorcery. Manifest the top card of your library. To manifest a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a creature. If it's a creature card, you can pay its mana cost to turn it face up. You can also turn it face up if it has an actual morph cost. If it's a non-creature card, it's a 2/2 for life, unless flipped by some other means. Manifest really pushes the morph mechanic to a whole new level. Adding in something like this that forces cards into a morphed position is really interesting. I think in Fate Reforged and especially Dragons of Tarkir, you can expect some morph help. Jury is still out for me, but this is a real interesting mechanic. Valorous Stance is 2 mana for an instant. Choose 1. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, or destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Love this card straight to death. Being able to do 2 completely different things for 2 mana at instant speed, yeah, I'll take that all day. Plus that second option, stupidly powerful in the current standard meta. Having a strong removal spell attached to another spell you might need is quite strong. Versatility is the key to a lot of good cards. This one, pretty good. Sideboard standard play is definitely possible here. Jeskai Sage is 1 colorless and 1 blue for a 1/1 human monk with prowess. When it dies, draw a card. Pretty standard. The only real reason I mention this is because it confirms that prowess is back in Fate Reforged, and that's pretty sweet. I like the prowess mechanic overall. Plus, this is totally playable and limited. It says draw cards. Come on. Hooded Assassin is 2 colorless and 1 black for a 1/2 human assassin. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Either put a +1/+1 counter on him or destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Another example of the choose 1 cards that Fate Reforged already seems to be full of. I really like this, especially for limited. Having a 2/3 for 3 isn't the worst, especially with morph running around again. Plus that second ability, removal is always nice, even if it's conditional sometimes. As they've confirmed on the mothership, we're getting at least 3 cycles of these modal cards, with choose 1 between 2 options. Appropriate since the lore of Fate Reforged is all about making choices and changing the past to save the present. In this case, it's like a better form of tribute, and that's pretty awesome. You get to pick what you want. There's power in that. Soulflayer is up next. 4 colorless and 2 black for a 4/4 demon with Delve. If a creature card with flying was exiled with its Delve ability, Soulflayer has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Wow. At first glance, stick this into a Sultai whip deck with Segu Mauler for value. Don't want to do that? Hornet Queen. Don't want to do that? Commander with the Chroma and a white-black commander. Not a fan yet? Chromanticore. You're welcome. In all honesty, players are going to stick Soulflayer in all sorts of builds. Expect to see your friends and enemies bring Soulflayers to Friday Night Magic. This card has potential. Watch out for it. Look at all those weapons. It has to be kinda good, right? Because new mechanics are all over the place, we'll keep that party going. Goblin Heel Cutter is 3 colorless and 1 red for a 3/2 Goblin Berserker. Whenever it attacks, target creature can't block this turn. It also has an ability called Dash. You can pay 2 colorless and 1 red to give it haste and then return it from the battlefield to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Dash basically gives your creatures the ability to use their powerful triggered abilities when they attack in exchange for a cheaper cost. I love it. Heel Cutter alone isn't half bad. If you have nothing else to do with your mana or you just need to push a bit more damage through, having a card that can halt a blocker every combat, pretty good. Loving Dash. I have a feeling this might get a little out of control though. It's just a feeling. Next up is a really cool card. Outpost Siege is 3 colorless and 1 red for an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. If you choose Khans, it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. If you choose Dragons, it has, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This card is insane. Giving a permanent choice like this is amazing, both gameplay-wise and flavor-wise. It's clear that there's a battle going on between the clan and the dragon. That's awesome. Beyond that, the dragon mode of the card works wonders with the dash ability we just talked about. The Khan's ability is pretty sweet, but this card isn't exactly cheap. We need to see more cards from Fate Reforged before we say anything for sure, but the design of this card alone has me excited. Rage Form is 2 colorless and 2 red for an enchantment. You're so pretty. You would look so good in foil. Oh, gimme. What just happened? That was weird. Anyways, right. Next up is Frontier Mastodon. 3 mana for a 3/2 elephant with Ferocious. It enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. It's pretty standard stuff. Only mentioned it because it confirms that Ferocious is indeed back, which is pretty sweet considering some of the best creatures in Standard right now are 4 power or greater. For the frontier! Next up is a weird card. Whisperwood Elemental is 3 colorless and 2 green for a 4/4 elemental. At the beginning of your end step, manifest the top card of your library, or in other words, put it into play face down as a 2/2 creature. You can also sacrifice the elemental to make it so that until end of turn, face up non-token creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, manifest the top card of your library. What in the world am I reading? What? Okay, I get the feeling that this elemental is going to be severely underrated. You basically get a free 2/2 creature every turn. Sure, it takes away from your deck, but if you're playing this card, then you know how it works and you probably don't care about losing a few cards to a free 2/2 generator. If left around for even just a few turns, this could get pretty bad pretty quick. Not only that, but if you play face-up creatures, the sacrifice ability is a nice insurance policy, letting you reflood the board if necessary. I'm not saying that this is definitely going to be a staple in Standard or anything, but honestly, it could be. Manifest is a shot in the dark. This creates board presence every turn. Don't forget that. Ethereal Ambush is 3 colorless, 1 blue, and 1 green for an instant. Manifest the top 2 cards of your library. Manifest super strange mechanics, so I'm not sure what to make of this. You do get 2 2/2s for 5 at instant speed, so it could be worse, but I've never really experienced something like this before. While you are getting those 2/2s, you're taking away possible value from the top of your deck. But if they're creatures, then you can still sort of play them for their mana costs. So it's almost like you drew them. I need more time to think on Manifest. The mechanic is super awkward. We finally made it to our last card, and yeah, you guessed it, it's a dragon. Kolaghan the Storm's Spurious, 3 colorless, 1 black, and 1 red for a 4/5 legendary dragon with flying. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. It also has dash for the same cost. You can give it haste and return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, there are a few things to point out here. First, it triggers itself. Second, it triggers off of all dragons. It says whenever a dragon attacks, any dragon stacks on itself. Attack with 3 dragons, +3/+0. 5 dragons, +5/+0. You can even use the dash ability to come out of nowhere and just pummel someone. Clearly these dragons were meant for something. This is the first one we've seen and it already has a tribal ability. Just saying, I think the age of dragons is upon us. To hype! One last thing about Kolaghan. Check out the watermark in the text box. It's like the Mardu symbol, but with another design added on top of it. In Outpost Siege, we see Kolaghan attacking a Mardu outpost. Just something to think about. With that, we're done with Fate Reforged spoilers, at least for today. We already have all the mechanics, a dragon, a super sweet demon, and the weirdest morph creating ability I've ever seen. I get the weirdest feeling Fate Reforged is just going to be pure chaos. Let me know what you think about today's spoilers in the comments, I gotta know. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Fate Reforged spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.